Welcome back. In this video, we will be talking about how to use the value scale using color theory to render an object. So in our last video, we created a value scale in red using all of our different analogous and complementary colors. To begin with, I'll just be focusing on this upper part of the ribbon, and I'll be using this right here as my reference point. Even though it's black and white, I can still apply all of my value knowledge to rendering this. In addition, on your iPads, you can go to the Flickr app and see the colored version of this photograph as well. So I have all of my colors here that I'll be using. Including white and my colorless blender. And my local color is going to be red. I practiced this method on this sphere earlier, so I'm going to use the same method applying to my ribbon. It'll just be in a different shape, and I'll have to pay close attention to where the lights and darks are. So, just like always, I'm going to begin with my local color, and I'm going to look up here and notice that in this section here, I'm going from dark, medium, light, back to medium, and down to dark. So just like I did on my sphere, when I began in the darkest area and used a cross contour motion to lay in my original color, I'm going to do the same thing on my ribbon. I'm going to start in this darker area here, and I'm using the cross contour motion, which means kind of how things wrap around the object. So I'm not going to color straight up and down, and I'm not going to color horizontally. I'm going to go with the curvature of the object. I'm using the flat edge of my pencil to keep things as smooth as possible, and I'm not pushing very hard at all. I'm putting down a thin layer of pigment. As I move closer to this brighter area, remember I'm going to leave kind of a buffer zone. So I'm going to stop my pigment long before I really need to, because I can always go back and add more, but I can't take it away once I add it. Next, I'm going to hop down here to this darker area, and I'm going to work upwards towards the light spot again. So I'm using a combination of the cross contour motion and the small circles. Remember that if you veer away from the small circles, you must use the cross contour motion. Otherwise, your objects will look very flat. So as I get closer to this area, I'm going to use less and less pressure, and I'm going to let that die off before I get too close. I can come back down here and add a little bit more pigment to my darker area. And I want to look really closely at the shapes that I see in my value. If I zoom in, oh, I guess I can't zoom in. Hopefully you can start to see how the values are broken down into shapes. So I notice that the light doesn't stop in a horizontal line. It kind of curves up and around. So I'm starting with just layers of my local color to start to block in the lights and the darks. And you can see that my object is already starting to take form. Next I'm going to go in with some of my medium tones. I'm going to start in the darker areas. Always start in your darker areas. It's easier to fix problems. So since I have kind of a variety of darks in here, I have a very dark and I have kind of a medium dark. I'm going to start with my apple green, and if I can't get that dark enough, I might go back in with some grass green just in the super dark areas. But again, always easier to start light and build to dark. So I'm going to begin putting in